So you've clicked on this video because you are looking to get into tattooing, but you have a problem. You don't know where to start and you certainly don't know what to buy. Now, I'm not gonna lie, it can be a little bit overwhelming. When you are looking to get into tattooing, you are looking for all these websites, you see 50 different brands, each with 100 different tattoo machines, and you have absolutely no idea what to buy because they are all fighting for your attention. Well, I have over a decade in the tattoo industry. I got you. Let's make this easy. Now, because you're new to tattooing, that means, mate, you ain't earned any money while tattooing just yet, so you are going to be on a budget. So with that in mind, what equipment would I buy on a £300 budget? Now, 300 quid does seem like a lot of money, and it is a lot of money, especially to some. But when you can buy a tattoo machine that is upwards of £1,000 just for the tattoo machine, I think £300 for a full setup is pretty damn good. Well, I've put together a list of comprehensive buys, squeezing the life out of that £300 budget to get you the best possible setup that won't only last for a starter, but will also take you into the 1 and 2 year mark of your career. It gives everything that you need to get started. And I can see the comments now, but Chris, you can't possibly buy a budget tattoo setup. You will end up chewing people up. And to that, I say that it is not the machine or the needles that chew people up. Within reason, it is you, the artist. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you, you can get a full tattoo setup for like 35, 40 quid or something, right? Off for Amazon. Dog shit. This list that I've put together, like I said, will keep you going for at least 2 years, maybe even longer. So after searching the internet and having a long hard think about what you will need and why you will need it, I have come up with a machine, a power supply, needles, pigment, and general studio supplies. Now, I do recommend that you stay to the end because I'm not just going to be giving you a buy this, I'm also giving you the reasons to why you are making that particular purchase. So let's start with the machine. Now, buying a machine when you are starting out isn't as simple as you may think. You look down, you're looking at all these specs, you're looking at stroke, you're looking at give, you're looking at whether it's direct drive or not, you're looking at like motor specs, torque, and you do not have a single clue about what any of it means. I got you, don't worry. The machine that you are gonna buy is the Dragon Hawk Fold Pro, and that comes in at £189.24, and that is on the official Dragon Hawk website. So why the Dragon Hawk Fold Pro? Well, firstly, it comes with its own power supply, so there's no need to go off and buy a separate power supply. You are essentially killing 2 birds with 1 stone, which is also saving you bare coin on that budget. Let's also not talk about RCA cables, which are like 20 quid a pop, last about 2 sessions before you need to buy a new one. Secondly, the Fold Pro comes with an adjustable stroke. Now, you aren't going to understand what this means or what stroke does, and to be honest, at the moment, you don't really need to know. But what I will tell you is that you are going to keep that stroke set at 3.6. Now, further into your career, I do actually recommend that you do learn what stroke is and how it works for you, but having those stroke options on the machine from the very start will be there when you need them when you're a little bit more advanced. Now, keeping your stroke at 3.6 will allow you to line, shade, and pack with relative ease, providing your tattoo technique is correct. The Dragon Hawk at 3.6 is also a relatively soft machine, which will help with overworking. If you don't know what overworking is, it is basically pushing the skin to its breaking point and then going beyond that and just completely and utterly just absolutely scoring people up. To minimize that happening, I also recommend that when you are running this machine, you run it at 6 or 7 volts. As you become more familiar with the machine and have more practice with the machine, you'll be able to raise up or lower those voltages based on essentially feel and how that machine works in your hand. Now, to top it off, I can also save you even more money on the Dragon Hawk Fold Pro if you go to the link in the description and put in the promo code, I think it's like chrisravage-10 or something. It's in the description. You'll get more money off, even more saving on that budget. Now, don't let that affiliate link put you off. The Dragon Hawk Fold Pro really is an awesome machine. There are plenty of artists experienced artists that are using the Fold Pro to this day and creating some phenomenal work with it. Now I know what you might be thinking, but what about a coil machine? Now although coil machines are great and they are definitely a viable machine to use, as a complete novice, they just require too much maintenance and too much setup, and you're not going to know what to do. So we're going to stick with the plug and play, and that's why we're going with rotary. Next up we have pigment, so we're going to need a light, medium, a dark, and a black. Now the black also needs to be used for lining and packing, so it has to meet standards for both those. So for this we are going to go with my sponsor set, that being Empire. This set will get you a full range of what you need. A light enough to see on the heel, light enough to saturate, but also light enough to grey line, which is very important, especially when you're starting out and you have that fear of losing your stencil. Grey lining, absolute lifesaver. It has a nice medium wash, and it also has a dark enough wash to be able to blend off the black that we are going to choose. That black being classic black. Now the main reason for picking classic black is because the pigment is a lot thinner than any of the darker blacks out there, but it's also dark enough to pack in and still be quite dark on the heel. But the most important thing is for that lining. Having a thinner pigment like that classic black eliminates blowouts. Not completely, it is still user error, but you are less likely to blow out with a thinner pigment than you are a thicker pigment. Now like I said, it won't be as dark as, let's say, ivory black on the heel, but we are bridging that gap and we are trying to keep things as safe as possible. Classic black, absolute must. Now the Empire set will set you back £28.50, and that is for the 1 ounce bottles. Once you start earning from tattooing, then you can start to think about the bigger 4 ounce bottles. Then we are going to buy a 1 ounce classic black, and that is going to set you back at £9. But what about white? Well, white isn't needed when you are first starting, and it's just going to push his budget even further. White's nice to have, it's not a need to have. So with machine and pigment, that takes our budget to £226.74. Now I know what you might be thinking also, what about colour pigment? Again, budget man, we're on a budget. So for now, you are strictly a black and grey artist. If anybody comes to you and they want colour, just turn around and ask them, what's colour? That leaves us with £73.26 to grab needles and studio supplies. Fucking hell, it's not looking good, is it? Firstly, because of the machine that we bought, traditional bar needles are completely out of the question, and we need to be buying cartridges, which I will say are vastly superior. When I first started tattooing, I had one machine and I was using bar needles. That means that I had a tube and a bar needle in my actual machine, and I had a tube and a bar needle for as many needles that I needed to go through the entire tattoo. And then once I needed to change the needle, I had to take out the full grip and the needle off the grommet, put it down, get the new tube, boom, straight in, needle on the grommet. Complete and utter madness. Now when we are starting out, we won't be doing big, massive, elaborate tattoos. You'll be doing like flash style and little mini bangers. Therefore, we are going to keep our needles to one liner and one magnum, and we aren't going to touch any round shaders. The brand of needles that we will go with are from Star Tattoo Supply, and they come in at £10.49 for a box of 10 needles, which again, bargain. Now when you buy your needles, you will be met with options such as power liners, fine liners, nano liners, fucking hollow liners, long taper, short taper, needle gauge. The list is endless. While you are starting out, you are going to buy the basic standard needle, that being a round liner, and that is going to be a 0.35mm gauge. And the size that you're going to get is a 7 round liner. The 7 round liner is a great middle ground for lining. If you go lower than that, the chances of causing more damage and blowing out is a lot more likely. But not only that, a 7 line, if you are, very nervous and you do have a shake in your hand, or even a natural shake in your hand, a 7 liner can actually mask that quite well. It's also small enough for those tiny flash pieces and bangers that you will be doing. And if you do need to go bigger, you can always double up that line with the 7 to create a 14. Now doubling up the line doesn't mean you run the line, then you run over the same line. it means you run the line and then you run a second line at the side of that line to thicken it up. But if I am being honest, it is mainly always about that shake. Tattooing when you start can be extremely nerve-wracking, and a shaky hand is not unheard of. Trust me, man, you should have seen me when I first started out. It wasn't micro jitters, it was like real jitters. No liner is going to stop that, don't get me wrong, but it just aids in helping you not to be able to see those jitters as much. The lower you go in diameter, in size, going from like a 7 to a 3, for example, like you'll see everything in a 3 and you won't see as much in a 7. And the higher you go to 9s, to 14s, to 18 liners, it pretty much eliminates all jitters. They are so forgiving. Next up is the needle that we are going to use to pack black and shade with. For this, we will go with a box of 7 curved magnums. Now, just like liners, magnums also come in different variations. You have the curved mag, which is the needle that you're going to buy. You have the regular stacked magnum. You have a bug pin magnum, and you also have something what's called a flat needle. I call them flat mags just because they're in like the same configuration as a magnum. The only difference is with a flat mag, instead of needles being stacked on top of each other like this, they're laid at the side of each other like this. Now, a curved magnum is exactly what it sounds like. It is needles stacked on top of each other, but rather than being straight like a straight magnum, they are curved on the edges. So why curved? Again, it's always about safety. A curved magnum cushions the skin while doing everything that a regular magnum can do. Just know that I have been tattooing well over a decade and I have never had to use anything other than a curved magnum for the most part. There is some situations where I do have to use a different, variation of magnum, but a curved mag will get you through absolutely everything. And a 7 mag is also small enough to get into those, small areas to fill, and it's also easy enough to shade with. The lower you go in a magnum, you will find that it gets harder and harder to shade with, but it gets easier and easier to pack with. Hence the 7, great middle ground for getting a nice smooth shade, but an absolute breeze for packing. And when packing's an absolute breeze and that black's going in, there is no need to keep going over it, which is gonna reduce overworking. With a 7 liner and a 7 mag, you will be able to do a multitude of tattoos, and when you get a little bit more advanced, you will be able to use just those 2 needles to go and do more elaborate tattoos like portraits. Easy. Now, after the 2 boxes of needles, that takes our budget to £247.72. That gives us £52.28 remaining to get studio supplies like ink caps, tongue dispensers, Vaseline cling film, razors, like a cleaning spray, some alcohol wipes, what else? Stencil and stencil supplies, £52.28. This is genuinely looking less likely by the second, but stick around to find out if I do it. So let's go with our stencil solution, that being Alloy Stencil Premium, my go-to for a long time. However, we are going to get the 90mm version for $11.99. The Alloy Stencil Premium will hold your stencil extremely well. Trust me, I used it for years. It was my go-to. You can go back through the channel and see. I love the stuff. I will still use it now happily, right? But get the Alloy Stencil Premium, you will have no worries with that stencil. Now, when it comes to putting stencils on fake skin, there ain't no solution in the world that is gonna like hold stencils how you want them to hold on fake skin. So yeah, $11.99, 90mm bargain. Now, because we're on a budget, we don't have the luxury of iPads and regular thermal printing. So what we are gonna buy is manual carbon paper, and you can buy this from Magnum Tattoo Supplies. They have a stencil kit that has 5 sheets of carbon and 5 sheets of tracing paper, and all you are going to do is you are going to print off your design, and you are going to lay that piece of paper on top of the carbon paper. You're going to grab your pencil or the pen that comes with this kit, and you're just going to trace round your design on top of the paper, and then you're going to use that paper as your stencil, because what it's going to do is going to transfer that carbon off that carbon paper onto the back of your printout, and then yeah, you use that, boom, on the skin, stencil. You're welcome. So now we're going to move over to Amazon. Now I'm not going to lie, some of these things you may actually be able to get from your local shop or your local supermarket, but for the sake of this video, we're going to stick with Amazon. First up, we have gloves. We're going to go with nitrile for the time being. Nitrile, I'm not going to lie, they are horrible to wear, but if anybody has a latex allergy, you don't want to be dealing with that. So nitrile gloves, any size, whatever fits, £5 and 9p. Tongue depressors, you need these for scooping out your ointment so you're not getting your fingers in there. Pack of 100, absolute bargain, they will last ages, £4.54. Ink caps, the size that we're going to go with is 9mm. The reason we're going to go with 9mm is because we don't want to be wasting pigment. Again, you're only doing smaller tattoos, but we also go with the 9mm because it's wide enough to fit in that 7 mag and that 7 liner. £3.69 for 100. Now I know you're not going to be on fake skin all the time, and you are going to graduate yourself up to real skin. When you get to real skin, you're going to need prep. One of the things that you need for prep is razors. Well, check out these Bic razors. I think it's 20 and it is £2.40. £2.40 for 20 razors. And even if you don't get 20 razors, because I'm not actually too sure, you'll get enough razors to get you going. Now we have alcohol wipes used to clean your surfaces down before and after the tattoo. Plus, because they are wipes, they are also very useful to clean your machine down after use. And the good thing is the isopropanol in the alcohol wipes pretty much kills everything, including any HIV virus that may be on the surface once you've tattooed somebody. £6.30. Next up is Vaseline, aka petroleum jelly. Big tub, £1.99, will last you ages, trust me. Next we've got cling film, £3.80 for 50 meters. Surface might only be this big, and you've got 50 meters of the stuff. Really good also for wrapping your machine. I to this day still use cling film to wrap my machine. I ain't buying for bags. They think I'm fucking meta money. Used to wrap your work surfaces and anything that you might use while tattooing. And last but finally not least, we have some green soap foam for skin prep and shaving, and that comes in at £6.99. Now if my math is correct, that brings the grand total of everything that we have discussed to 300 exactly. Why, thank you. Now you do have other things that you would likely need to buy in the future, that being armrests and beds and lighting, but at the moment you really don't need them. Just improvise. Oh, I've only forgot kitchen roll.